Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today on this lovely Tuesday evening. My colleague here, Janvi, is going to take you through to this session today, and she will also take you through the rules and regulations, how we are going to make this session very interesting. Janvi, are we ready?
Yeah, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, very well, Janvi. Yeah.
Okay. Hello and welcome everyone to the Know Your Millets webinar. We hope you all are doing great and are safe at your homes. Wellcure is a digital natural healing platform where we regularly post, host events and workshops related to natural living and natural healing. All the updates are available on our mobile application and website, which is www.wellcure.com. We also regularly host a number of courses and workshops related to principles of nature cure and living a sustainable life that is healthy and close to nature. Moving forward to our webinar, some of you might already know what millets are and some might not. Millets have grown extensive presence in Indian home cooking and global kitchens, and all for good reason. They are highly nutritious, gluten-free, easily digestible, have a handful of varieties to choose from, and are delicious to eat. We know you already have a lot of questions regarding millets. This is why we have our instructor, Pallavi Upadhyay, with us. Welcome, Pallavi. Pallavi is the co-founder and managing director of Millets for Health, a social enterprise dedicated to the revival of millets. Today, she works in promoting millets amongst the farmers as well as bringing them to the urban tables. Before we dive into the session, I wish to announce that we will be taking Q&As at the end of the webinar. The chat box is closed for now and will be open towards the end Q&A round or as and when Pallavi asks us to. We will be sharing a query form with you all. So if due to time boundation, we miss out on a couple of questions, you can put your queries in the shared form and they will be answered soon after. So this is from our side. I would now like to welcome Pallavi and she will be taking this webinar forward. So yeah, Pallavi.
Thank you so much, Janvi. Hi, everyone. It's really wonderful to see such enthusiastic participation for today's webinar on millets. And it gives me great pleasure in welcoming you all. This, for me, it's a wonderful moment to see so many of you interested because it reaffirms my belief and my faith in this journey that we started on almost 4 to 5 years ago while working on millets and trying to bring millets to the urban tables and trying to talk to people about millets. And it's really heartening to see the response on the webinar today. First off, I would really like to thank the Wellcure team who has been really wonderful in organizing this webinar today and putting behind all the logistics of it. I know some of you have seen the videos that have come before. I would just like to take a moment to share a little bit about what Wellcure is. Wellcure is an online health platform, and they believe that we don't need any medicine, and the body takes care of itself by its own healing. And Wellcure basically tries to bring to you methods and ways in which, by which we can do this. They have various blogs, the mobile app is there, and they have a whole host of information through which to do that. One of the key aspects, of course, that they focus on is millets, which brings us into the picture. I am the co-founder and managing director of a social enterprise called Millets for Health. Millets for Health has been working on revival of millets since 2016. And we have a presence with farmers and NGOs and farmer producer groups through some of our associate organizations from much before then. Without wasting any more of our time on some of this, maybe we can talk about it later if you are left with the time. I will take you to straight away to our presentation, and just 1 second, give me a thumbs up, someone from the team, if you can see the slide.
Yes,
Yes,
Pallavi.
Pallavi.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, so I would like to get started on what millets are. We will be covering everything that I have to say in the slides through the presentation. And if at the end of it there are any questions that still remain unanswered, please feel free to talk about it in the Q&A. What are millets? Millets are a group of highly variable small seeded grasses. They are widely grown both for food and fodder. In our country, they were once a staple in most parts of the country. Almost 60 to 70% of the country was growing and eating millets almost 30, 40 years ago, pre-Green Revolution. And they were, the quantities that millets were grown in were comparable to rice, but they are much, much less now. We've lost out on them due to several reasons, socio-economic reasons, the drudgery of processing of millets, and many other aspects. And of course, the government also promoted wheat and rice through the Green Revolution. So a lot of these small grains like millets sort of lost out in that race, and we focused more on eating wheat and rice. And gradually we have become a nation that eats predominantly wheat and rice. So, the point of the session today is to take you through all of the different millets and reintroduce you to the diverse, rich grain food heritage that our country used to have. Why should we be eating millets? Millets are, so I'm sure many of you must have heard this, but I would still like to take some time to talk about two, three of the different reasons why we should be consuming millets. Millets are excellent, very good for the farmers. They don't take any pesticides or fertilizers. They are not reliant on irrigation or electricity. They are primarily grown in rain-fed areas. They take very, very less water to grow. They take, in fact, as compared to paddy rice, they take a almost one third, less than one third the amount of water to go. And they grow in the poorest of soils, in saline soils, in sandy soils with literally no topsoil. They grow in those kind of conditions also. They also mean nutritional security for farmer families. So right now we work in Anantapur and we are working with farmers who are growing other crops. Anantapur is the second most drought prone region in the country. It's the second most drought prone district in the country. Several years the farmers see crop failures because of droughts and no rains. But even despite of that, when now that we have started talking to the farmers and reintroducing millets to them, they realize that millets are low maintenance. They grow in years with low rainfall, with no rainfall, and these are crops that require really less maintenance. So in that sense, they are extremely farmer friendly crops, and they strengthen the livelihood and nutritional security of farming communities. Millets, of course, why one very important reason, they are excellent for consumers. Millets, all millets are gluten free. Now, what is gluten and why are we talking about gluten free so much? Of course, gluten free is important when we are talking about people who are gluten intolerant, people who have celiac disease, or many parents who are advised to keep their children on gluten free diet because of children being on the autism spectrum or being for ADHD, so they are advised to go gluten free and casein free. So it's very important for them. Also, as a nation, as a population, as South Asians, we are genetically predisposed to eating more high fiber, low gluten diets. Most of our grains and our food, our cereals that we used to be consuming earlier were low in gluten and high in fiber. Even our traditional varieties of wheat were lower in gluten and higher in fiber, much unlike what we are eating nowadays, which are extremely refined, extremely polished white rice, extremely refined wheat, which is high in gluten and low in fiber. So, if we see over time, we have become a nation that consumes really low amounts of fiber and very, very high amount of gluten. Because, I think the amount of maida that has been sold in the last year is, if you talk to the Kirana store guys, it's huge. So, we're a nation that fixates on eating so much maida, so much wheat, which has very low fiber, that has caused a lot of problems for us. So genetically, our bodies are not meant to eat so much of gluten, and which is why all of these problems with intolerances, gluten intolerance, and allergies, and all of this is also happening to people because we are not eating the right kind of wheat even when we are eating wheat. Secondly, millets have a very high fiber content. Like we talked about, like I just said, that millets are high fiber grains, and genetically we are predisposed to eating a more high fiber diet. All millets are extremely high in fiber. They are complex carbohydrates, which means that they break down slowly in your system, in our system, whenever we eat it. They release sugar and energy over a sustained period of time. They break it down slowly, and basically they don't lead to spike in sugar levels as soon as we consume them. If you consume simple carbs, which are white rice, then that spikes your sugars and then brings it down suddenly as well, while millets are the exact opposite of that. All millets are alkaline. So there are 200 plus varieties of millets in the country. Some of them are still being discovered, but about 9 of them are commercially and easily available in markets now. We will be talking about all 9 of these today, but all 9 of the millet varieties that we are talking about, all of these are alkaline. Millets are high in several micronutrients, calcium, iron, beta carotene. Of course, because of the high fiber and a lot of other benefits, it decreases the risk of type 2 diabetes. The mineral content in millets is very, very high. Magnesium, phosphorus, these are essential nutrients, and they are very, very high in millets. Uh, by including diverse and different types of millets in our diets, it encourages diet diversity, and diet diversity is equivalent to nutrition diversity. The more diverse our diet is, the more nutrients we are consuming, thereby also helping in the absorption of other nutrients. Because oftentimes what we find that if we consume something, it helps and supports the absorption of something else. So thereby, the more diverse and your platter is, the more diverse your grain platter, your food platter, your vegetable platter is, the more nutrition you're absorbing from everything that you're eating. And millets are also extremely that they are difficult to cook. They are extremely easy to cook, considering we know just a few hacks and tips and tricks, and they are not very difficult to learn. Once we learn the basics, we can really cook just about anything with millets. Millets are also very, very good for the environment. They have negligible and low effect on water resources. They don't need any pesticides and fertilizers to grow because they grow in the poorest of soils. They are very hardy. They don't attract a lot of pests. So, the effect on the environment is also negligible. So when you're eating millets, you can be assured that most probably, even if it doesn't, even if it doesn't say certified organic, either no chemicals were used in growing it because of the kind of farmers who are growing this now, or even if someone did, it's probably extremely negligible compared to anything else. But so, millets are naturally organic crops. They also contribute to agricultural biodiversity and preserve traditional farming methods like satanja system and different kinds of systems of mixed cropping and mixed farming. So there are three things. They are good for us, they are good for the environment, and they are good for the farmer. So by just making a slight change in our kitchens, just by changing slightly what we are consuming and including more diversity on our plates, we are having not just an impact on our own health, we are also having a positive impact on the environment and on the farmers' lives, who are the backbone of our country, really. So I think it's a small price and a small effort to make for such multiple benefits. Who can eat millets? Everyone. Everybody can eat millets. They are high on essential micronutrients. They boost physical and mental growth in early years. So they are extremely good for toddlers and young children. For teenagers, they're a high source of energy. Like I said, they keep the energy sustained over a longer period. So once you start actually going on a millet-based diet, you will also realize that you feel much more energetic. And the lethargy that often comes sometimes, the afternoon when you're post lunch, you start feeling lethargic. You will stop feeling all of that once you go on a millet-based diet. For our fast-paced lifestyles as adults, it is an excellent alternative. It keeps our lifestyle diseases at bay. If you start eating it at the right time, you will successfully keep lifestyle diseases at bay. And even if you have some sort of a lifestyle disorder, it helps in management, and also in many cases we have seen reduction of this. For women, it also meets special nutritional needs, B vitamins, iron, folate, so many things found in different types of millets. For the elderly as well, it is easy to digest. Like I said, millets are all alkaline, so they are easily digestible. We just need to take care of certain precautions when we are consuming millets, but they are extremely easy to digest. I will be covering the precautions later, but they are even for the elderly, they are excellent for management of health related issues, and any other issues that might crop up, they help in the management and prevention of that as well. So talking about young children and millets, there a study in 2019 conducted by ICRISAT in partnership with Akshapatra Foundation and some other partners. It found that it was a 3-month study, and it found that children who were fed a millet-based diet showed 50% more increase. So I have put the study link here if you want, and you can just Google ICRISAT millet study. You will also find more details on this, and you will see exactly what they were fed. Most of the children, they were fed a combination of little millet, ragi, bajra, and I think jowar, if I'm not mistaken. But little millet, bajra, and ragi were certainly part of that diet. And it was seen that children grew up to 50% more in both weight and height parameters. So if we can see this in a time span of 3 months, you can imagine what kind of an impact it can have on children's growth if we give it to them on a regular basis. Food is literally the building block of children when they are growing. So if we are giving them something which is so nutritious, so potent at a younger age, we are really putting them way ahead of the game and way ahead in the curve. If we can give them something that's really building them up so strongly. Ragi is really high in calcium, as I'm sure most of you know. But the only mistake many of us make is that when we are giving ragi to our children, we need to give it to them as a mainstay food, like not as a snack. The cookies are not going to do what a porridge is going to do, what a dosa is going to do, what a roti is going to do. So it's not going to give you the same nutrition. So the way you need to feed it to the children is by making it a family food. Whatever you are eating, whatever is on your plate needs to be on the children's plates, and millets need to be introduced as family food, as staples. We need to find innovative, interesting, diverse ways of doing this. And because it has such benefits, not just for younger ones, but it has benefits for everybody. But if we want to extend the benefit to the young ones, we really must make it the family food so that they all start consuming it together. Several other health benefits. Of course, it's anti-diabetic, as we talked about, because of the high fiber. It lowers blood glucose response, and it has a low glycemic index. It reduces oxidative stress. The free radicals are removed by the phenolic compounds present in millets, and it reduces our oxidative stress. It has anti-cancer properties. It is anti-hypertensive. It prevents coronary heart disease. Because of the alkaline nature, it is also useful in treatment of stomach ulcers and gallstones. It will prevent us from putting on weight and helps in treatment of obesity also. It will give us high energy. So really, by just making a little bit of a switch and including diversity on our plates, there is so much that we can deal with. And it's phenomenal, the amount that millets and what millets can do for us. I do have a personal health story for millets as well, which is the inspiration behind starting all of this. And I'll just take a few minutes to cover it. I was back in 2013, I was expecting my daughter, and I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. And during that time, and this was very early, like right in the second month, a lot of people get it in the third trimester, but I got it very early, which means that my body has a tendency for type 2 diabetes. I, on just a millet based diet and brisk walking, I did these two things, and I managed the entire duration on just these two things without any complications. Of course, I was very careful. I measured my sugar like 3-4 times a day to make sure that there were no spikes and everything, but it was very easily manageable. I didn't take a single dose of any type of medicine, much to the surprise of all the doctors and everybody who was monitoring my pregnancy. No medicine was required. It was an extremely healthy time for me. I think one of the healthiest times in my life was because of this. And I learned to eat healthy. I learned the positive and strong impact food can really have on our systems. And that, I think, was a story of transformation and also the journey and the beginning of Millets for Health, which is why we wanted to bring it to everyone. So, that personal health story is also there. And since then, it's been a family food for us. We eat it very regularly. I introduced it to my daughter at a very young age. We can see the impacts on her. So if anybody sort of wanted to talk about this and ask any questions, And if there is anybody dealing with gestational diabetes kind of issues, I'm happy to provide support to you. Now, coming back and talking about the different types of millets. What happens is that, of course, we know that millets are healthy. We know what are the kind of issues millets deal with. Uh, Oftentimes, we don't know what are the different types of millets. And on several forums online, I have found there to be a lot of confusion about the varieties of millets, about how to recognize millets. And I find that because there is an abundance of different types of products in the market, that people are really struggling with what is the right quality. You know, is millet ka kya naam hai, ye iska rang hai, ye polished hai ki nahi hai. You know, if you're going through all the trouble of including something in your diet, you must make sure that you're getting the right thing. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of what are the different types of millets, how to recognize the different ones, what is polished and unpolished, etc. Before that, just taking two steps back and going back to a couple of other questions that also very often come up when we're talking about millets. One is the question of millets and thyroid that a lot of people talk about. And there are a lot of misconceptions around this as well, because there is a lot of rumor mongering on some of the websites about there being high goitrogenic foods and being bad for your thyroid and all of that. So I would just like to discuss that as well. Millets, there has been only one incident which is recorded, and that too specifically with bajra or pearl millet, where in some South African communities, bajra was a staple. Their diet was already low, considerably low in iodine, and there they had some thyroid related issues because they consumed excessive amounts of pearl millet or bajra. Now, when we're talking about excessive consumption of anything, so in Ayurveda also they say, right, that what is poison? Anything that you consume in excess is poison. So even when we are talking about millets and you start consuming any one particular grain excessively, and that's all you're eating for 3 meals, of course, it's going to have some sort of an impact on your body. So even when we talk about millets, we urge you to keep a balance, not consume any one particular type of millet. Like for instance, you think that acha ye parameters mein dekhne se we are seeing that, you know, oh, this one seems high and everything, so we will consume this particular millet. No, don't consume just one type of millet. The idea when we're talking about millets is to introduce diversity in your platter, diversity in your food. Don't consume any one single type of grain. Coming to the question of goitrogens, only pearl millet has been found to contain some quantity of this, none of the other millets. So if for anyone who's a little scared of thyroid or related issues, maybe bajra is something that you can avoid. But even that, you know, as long as you don't make it a staple and the only thing you eat, it's not going to be harmful for you. So if you have it, say, once a week, mixed in something or in an idli dosa batter or some way, because bajra is actually extremely nutritious. The folic acid, the iron content in bajra, we have single-handedly see people's iron levels go up by including more bajra in their diets. So it has the power to have that kind of an impact. And especially in a country like ours, where every second or third person is anemic, bajra can play a really strong role in dealing with iron deficiencies. So including some bajra in your diet is, of course, it's not going to be harmful. And the only thing that we're saying is that it doesn't need to be excessive. And in fact, so because we also sell millets and we have a large consumer base that is eating millets, and I am very, I personally interact with a lot of our customers and people who buy. I like to talk to them. We like to share stories. People who have gone on a gluten-free diet and a millet-based diet by including a diversity of millets in their platter, they have actually seen improvements in their thyroid conditions. There are cases like that, and there are people like that. So the whole thing about it being bad for your thyroid is generally just a misnomer. And of course, anything is based on your own personal experience. You should consume it, see what kind of an impact it is having on your body, and then make an informed decision. So that is the question of thyroid that we were discussing, which I really wanted to talk about. And some of the other misconceptions will come up later. If there are any questions, we will talk about them in the end. Now, coming to the differentiation between millets. So there are 9 popular varieties of millets in the country. Like I said earlier, there are more than 200 varieties. There are still, and most, they're still being discovered and rediscovered. But 9 varieties that are, easily and commercially available. They can be categorized into 2: major millets and minor millets. Major millets are also known as naked millets. they do not have a hard indigestible husk. So the outer layer, they don't have a husk which we are not able to digest. They don't need dehulling. So we don't need to remove their outer husk. They just need to be cleaned and they can be consumed directly. These major millets, they can be directly ground into atta or flour. They can be directly made into dalia. They can be, they can be popped. So because they still remain in the seed form, they can be popped, they can be sprouted. And we can generally, but the only thing is that the major millets, the naked millets, if you start boiling them and cooking them, they are going to take a really long time. So they need to be in a slightly, either they need to be really soaked. Even then, ragi and bajra will not cook unless they are broken down. Sorghum or jwar will still cook. So three of the millets, bajra, jwar, and madua or ragi. So madua is incidentally the Hindi name, ragi is the Kannada name for the millet, and the English name is finger millet. So these three millets are major millets and they can be consumed in the whole form by making them into atta, by pounding them into dalia, by sprouting them further and making them into atta, or by popping them. So you get popped sorghum, which is similar to popcorn. You can also pop ragi and pop bajra. The other categorization is minor millets. Minor millets are husked millets. So these are more like, white paddy rice. Like, paddy rice has an outer hull that needs to be removed before we get to the inner kernel that can be eaten. So these are the minor millets. The outer hull, the seed coat, is something that is not digestible by us. So if you get it from anywhere in that form, please don't consume it. You need to have the outer hull removed. The outer hull is extremely shiny. So, if you get any millets which are really, really shiny, you may need to just stop and ask yourself whether you are consuming a millet which is actually with the hull. So, and I'll show you some pictures of millets with the hull so that you can see what it looks like. So they have an indigestible seed coat. They need to be processed. The outer husk needs to be removed before we consume them. This is the reason that millets, the minor millets also became unpopular. Bajra, jwar, and ragi are now still more or less grown across the country. And they've gained more ground in the last few years because they are not so difficult to process. Minor millets were difficult to process. The brunt of the work used to fall on the women. Even then, it was really, really difficult. They had to be, hand pounded and removed. Even by hand pounding, we would not get them in the ideal form because hand pounding also led to a lot of loss of the bran. So the thing with minor millets is that the hull needs to be removed, but the bran layer needs to stay there. So if the bran is also removed, that means that we have something which is called as a polished millet, which I will be covering in subsequent slides. So it is the minor millets which you may find more in the polished form. You should if you're consuming millets for the nutrient value and for the mineral and the fiber and everything, for those reasons, then you must consume unpolished millets only. I have seen a lot of people who complain saying कि आपने तो बताया था कि मिलेट खाने से शुगर ठीक होता है, पर हमने तो सामा का चावल खाया और हमारा तो शुगर बढ़ गया. So then I have to ask them, what color your sama was like? And the sama that they purchase is white in color, which is usually available in the market during fasting. That is extremely polished, almost next to suji, has no fiber, it has no mineral, and it is just carbs that will spike your sugar. So make sure that when you're consuming millets, you are consuming unpolished millets only. This is very important. Uh, so I'll just show you pictures, and I do have the millets here and I can show it to you later, but pictures presented better in a forum such as this. So sometimes it's online, not very easily visible. So this is ragi or finger millet. This is whole bajra, and this is whole jwar. So these three are the major millets. This is little millet, one of the minor millets. Now you can see on the picture on the top, that is little millet with the seed coat that you cannot digest. It needs to be dehulled and brought it into this form, which is below. This is the rice form of the millet. This is digestible. But do you see the color of this little millet? It is beigeish cream, like, it's not white. It shouldn't be white. So three of the millet that are most prone to being polished are little millet, barnyard millet, and kodo millet. Foxtail and brown top and proso, we still get them in, they are not that prone to polishing, but these three, they are extremely prone to being polished. So make sure that these three at least should not be white in color. If they are white, if anybody is saying giving you white millet, that is polished millet. And if you somebody is giving you the millet on top and asking you to consume it, there it's not polished, and there is a reason probably why it is cheaper also, because it is so it is not dehulled and you cannot digest it. Even if you soak it, it is still a lot of people say कि इस फॉर्म में मिल गया है तो इसको सोक करके या ग्राइंड करके फर्मेंट करके खा लें क्या. खा तो आप लें, उसका आटा भी आप बना लें, पर वो जितना आप हस्क खा रहे हो उस फॉर्म में वो डाइजेस्टेबल नहीं है आपके लिए. So even a lot of people feed foxtail millet or kangani to their birds. Have you seen how the birds eat what is inside and they leave the husk? So they don't eat the husk, they leave what is outside. So even for the birds, it is not digestible, and we can't digest it either. Going to the next slide. This is an example of unpolished and polished little millet. So in the previous slide, you saw millet with the husk. We cannot eat that. The bottom one is millet without the husk, but unpolished. Now this is the next stage. On the right is unpolished little millet. On your left is polished little millet by some brand. So, you have to be very careful. Even if you find, and I'm sorry, I'm not naming anyone here, not talking about any brands in specific. Even if you find, the best of people, the best of brands, oftentimes people don't differentiate between polished and unpolished millets. As consumers, it is your responsibility to be a little more aware of what you're consuming. If you're consuming millet for their benefits, please consume unpolished millet. So that the one on your left is polished little millet, the one on your right is unpolished little millet. Now, another question that comes up is differentiation between little millet and barnyard millet, and confusion between little millet and barnyard millet. So I just want to set that record straight. Little millet is called kutki in Hindi, and it is called samai in Tamil. Barnyard millet is called sama in Hindi. It is called kutravalli in Tamil. The confusion happens because after dehulling, little millet and barnyard millet, they look the same. While their seeds are extremely different, but once you dehull them, they look very, very similar. So a lot of people think also that, when people sell it to them, that they've sold them the same millet. But if you look closely, there's a difference. There is difference in the colors. Barnyard millet is slightly lighter. Little millet is slightly darker. Barnyard millet is slightly bigger. Little millet is slightly smaller. But essentially, to the naked eye, they do look the same. Their seeds, however, are very different. But barnyard millet, or sama in Hindi, is the one that you can consume during fasting. Little millet, or kutki in Hindi, and samai in Tamil is not the millet to be had during fasting. So it is barnyard millet and not little millet, which is fasting friendly millet. And you should keep that in mind. Also, during fasting time, you get a lot of millet in the market, which is probably also polished kodo being sold off as barnyard millet. So if you actually want to ensure that you're eating the right type when you're fasting, as many of you do, that you access unpolished barnyard millet, then you can actually say whether it is actually barnyard millet or some other millet. Now this slide, this is also very important. This is again a sample that we picked up randomly from somewhere of foxtail millet. Why? One of the aspects of quality of millets is consuming unpolished millets. The second aspect is why, there are different varieties of millets available in the market. Some are different varieties of white rice available in the market. Some are a certain price, some are another price, and some are another price altogether. It is because of the level of cleanliness, the quality, and many other aspects that come into the picture that the different varieties are available. Same goes with millets. So when you're buying, number one, you must make sure that what you're buying is clean. If you don't have time to clean it at your end, because then you don't know what kind of impurities are going in. So it must be clean of grime and dust and all of that. Number two, it must be evenly dehulled. So the hull must be evenly removed from the millet. Now this thing that you see on the right over here, okay, I hope you can see the cursor that I'm moving. This is a lot of, so this is 40 grams of millet. In 40 grams, we found almost this and slightly more of unhulled millets. So this is millet with the seed coat that we cannot digest. We found cross-contamination with white rice. Here, which you can't see here, is bajra. We found cross-contamination with some bajra, some unhulled millets, and white rice. We also found a lot of kernels of what is probably unpolished kodo. This is a very characteristic shape of this one is kodo. This is polished kodo. So even when a lot of varieties of barnyard or what is sold as barnyard in the market, because kodo is quite big. So even when you polish it, although the size reduces, it becomes similar to barnyard millet in terms of size, but it's quite white. So basic, your thumb rule should be, if it is white, it is polished. Whether it is being sold as barnyard or kodo as little, it doesn't matter. But so in this variety, we found a lot of cross contamination of polished kodo, of unhusked millet, and of other contaminants. So one of the marks of quality is that your millet should be evenly dehulled, and it should not have this kind of cross contamination. And you as consumers should make an effort to check when you're buying a certain variety. Of course, if you do have time to clean it at your end, then please go ahead and buy whatever is available. These are the names of millets in different Indian languages. Uh, some I'm sure that we can always this is very easily available online at different places. So here again, barnyard millet is sama and little millet is kutki in Hindi. So this is your sama ka chawal. And then of course there's proso, there's brown top. So these are the 9 millet types. This is the nutritional profile of different types of millets. You can see straight away, see the fiber comparison with wheat and white rice, and see where millets are predominantly, very high on fiber, high on different aspects like, your thiamine, niacin, phosphorus, iron content that we see in some of the millets is extremely high. Uh, and your of course ragi is very, very high in calcium. So finger millet, if you see the calcium content, bajra, you see the iron content, barnyard millet, iron content, even little millet. So several micronutrients millets are really high on. Some of the precautions, myths and misconceptions that we need to deal with. So pre-soaking. Although millets can be easily cooked without pre-soaking, soaking and cooking them makes them much more digestible. So we need to soak them for 3 to 4 hours, or at least 2 hours, or overnight, depending on the weather. Of course, overnight soaking, you may want to avoid in areas which are very hot, because that may have another kind of impact on the millet. So if it's very hot, you can soak them for a lesser period of time. Why soaking is important is because it increases the digestibility of the millet. A lot of people talk about phytate in millet, but cooking is also a process that removes the phytates and anti-nutrients from the millets. So even if you soak them for a few hours, a couple of hours, if you can, and cook them, the anti-nutrients and phytates do get removed. This is, and I've conferred on this with some nutritionists from premier millet institutes in the country. And as per their opinion also, cooking also removes the anti-nutrients and phytates from the millets. So soaking them for a few hours and cooking does the job of removing the anti-nutrients from the millets. Do not under any circumstances use undercooked millets. They need to be cooked well because they are high in fiber. You need to cook them properly and consume them. If you don't cook them properly, it can lead to digestion issues and dehydration. If you are, so remember I said earlier that genetically we are more predisposed to eating a high fiber diet. But because we have not done that in so long, that if suddenly you start increasing millets in your diet and suddenly you start having them for all 3 meals or whatever, you may face some issues. When you're increasing fiber in your diet, do increase your water intake. Your body automatically will also tell you, you will feel thirsty, you will want to increase your water intake, and you should increase more water in your diet. Also, cooking them in more digestible ways in the beginning, like making them into a khichdi, making them into a kheer, cooking them like an ambli. This is preferable when you're starting the millet journey, because these are easily digestible forms, and you can very easily ease into this when you're in the beginning. My suggestion to people is, usually if you're not eating it for any sort of disease reversal or any serious condition, you can, if you're just consuming millets to increase the nutrition in your diet, in your family's diet, to lose weight for these reasons, start with 1 meal a day and gradually build it up. You can have it for all 3 meals, but give it some time, and get some variety into your diet, cook it in different ways. Millets are now available in very, very different ways. You can get millet rava, you can get atta, you can get poha, you can get snacks. You can, and my thrust to most people is that try to use them more as staples rather than as fancy fat food. Try to include them in your day-to-day meals. So that way you will get the maximum benefits from it. They are available in very, very different ways. Gradually increase the quantity of millets in your diet. Don't do it all of a sudden. Do it step by step. See how it's treating your body. Sometimes, some things suit some people, some things don't suit some people. So you can also try that, try to have it in different ways, fermented ways, etc. And, make it your own personal journey with consuming the millets. Do not eat the same quantity of millets as you would of white rice. So if you're consuming a certain amount of white rice, reduce the quantity in half, and that is how much millet you need. It will give you more energy, more nutrition. It'll keep you fuller for longer. You don't need to have the same quantity. Many people make the mistake of having the same quantity of millets as they would of white rice, and then they feel full for a really long time because, remember, it is high fiber, it breaks down slowly. So, you're feeling fuller for a longer period of time and you feel that it's not getting digested. That's not it. You've just eaten more than you should in a certain meal. So reduce the quantity of millet that you need. If and you can plan your meal in such a way. If you're somebody who likes to have only 2 meals, you can have a decent quantity at mid-morning or at breakfast or whatever, and then you can just straight away eat your dinner at 7 or something. If you want to have 3 meals a day, then you should monitor the quantity accordingly. uh, so this I just covered. They keep us feeling fuller for a longer duration and provide sustained energy. This does not mean that they are not getting digested. We need to adjust the quantity we consume as per our meal frequency. Seasonality. Millets can be had in all seasons. Very important. A lot of people, and I've seen this again, something that I've seen on online forums and groups and in discussions, somebody will randomly ask कि बाजरा खा सकते हैं क्या कि नहीं सर गर्मी में. And then, people from the south of India have a very different viewpoint on this. People from the north have a very different viewpoint on this. Has anybody ever wondered why? Why do they say, a lot of people from the south that you speak to, they will say that bajra is actually cooling for the body. And people from the north will say कि नहीं नहीं बाजरा तो बहुत गर्म होता है, it is hot for the body, so you should only consume it in the winter. And this is a thumb rule for, in fact, all of the millets. Once it's not really about the grain or the cereal that you're consuming. It is more important in the form in which you're having it, what you're pairing it with. So in the south, people consume bajra in very different ways. So they will ferment it into an idli dosa batter. I think in Tamil Nadu, they make a drink, my pronunciation, I'm sorry, maybe off, but it's called kambu kud. Kambu is bajra and it's a fermented drink sold in big earthen pots. It's supposed to be cooling for the body. Even in Rajasthan, they have bajre ki rab or bajre ki rabdi, which is a fermented bajra drink that is had in the morning. The farmers have it before going off into the field. It's supposed to be cooling for the body. So it's cooked and put in earthen pots at night, and then they have that in the morning. So even in Rajasthan, they have it throughout the year. They change the way in which they are consuming it. So it's not so much the cereal, but in the form in which you're consuming it that's important. If you find that anybody is having a heating impact on your body, you can reduce the quantity that you're eating of it. You can cook it in a different way. You can ferment it and have it. You can pair it with cooling spices like fennel, mint, cook it with things like that. And it's more nutritious for you. It's cooling for your body. Pair it with cooling stuff. In the winters, you have it in different ways. So you just need to change the way in which you're consuming it for the kind of impact you want it to have on your body. All millets are extremely nutritious. There are no specific 3, 4, 5 types of millets that should only be had. Ragi, bajra, and jawar are also equally nutritious. The minor millets are higher in fiber. But even the major millets that we are talking about, they are very, very nutritious. They are high in several things. Remember when we talked about how millets are good for children? It is actually the major millets which are better in terms of nutrition. Children anyway don't need to be having that increased amount of fiber in their diet. It can be a little less, and you can soak it and ferment it and reduce the fiber. That increases the digestibility for younger kids also. And they should be having more of the, not just them. If you're not personally trying to reverse anything serious, a balanced platter of all the 9 types of millets, as well as a good variety. If you're not intolerant to gluten, you can have high fiber varieties of wheat. You can have traditional varieties of rice, and just increase the diversity on your plate. So eat all the types of grains, and it makes your meal more enriching, more nutritious. And no grain is, and or no cereal is an enemy in itself. Only if it is extremely polished or extremely processed or has been grown with a lot of chemicals, only then it becomes an enemy. And also it becomes a negative when we start consuming it excessively, as we have been doing. So we've been consuming excessive quantities of white rice and excessive quantities of wheat. That's why they have become the enemy. So try to include a variety in your diet. They are all extremely nutritious and they will provide your body with different types of nutrients that you need. What can we cook with millets? Really, just about everything. Pulao, biryani, continental stuff. We do bakes and shepherd's pie and muffins and upma and chaach. Mix it in sattu. Make a salad. Make a soup. There is no end. Rotis. There's just no end to what you can cook with millets. You can cook just about anything. It just needs a slight tweak in the way you're treating it. We have done so in the workshops that I do. We have done pasta with millets. We have done noodles. We have done so many different things, that you can just do with millets. There's no limit. And also because millets are very diverse, right? There are 8 to 9 different varieties. Some have a texture which is more suited for something. Some have a texture which is better suited for something else. So there's this, and with time you get to know that. So with time you get to know which millet is better suited for what kind of a dish, and you can very easily cook that. Who we are a social enterprise, Millets for Health. We are working on the revival of millets since 2016. We work with pharma organizations and NGOs. Shod, our NGO partner, is working in Anantapur with over 1,200 farmers and growing. This year, hopefully, we have big things in store where we are trying to get solar power to the farmers. And most of the millets that we procure and get are from the farmers of Anantapur, which is the second most drought prone area in the country. We are fair price and supportive of organic and sustainable agricultural practices. And we spread awareness on cooking with millets, how to make it easy, and millets as alternative foods for a healthy lifestyle. What we do workshops, catering and lunches. We do retail and distribution. And we have like an exclusive millet store. We are based out of Noida, and we have an exclusive store where we serve meals as well on pre-order, and we sell all the different types of millets. That is it from my end. If I have missed anything, or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We also have exciting stuff happening every month in collaboration with Wellcure. Maybe one of the team members can further enlighten us on that. And here are some very, very interesting dishes. So you can see like a shepherd's pie, a salad, dosa, another platter which has like a neer dosa and pancake and beetroot rice and lemon rice and a tikki. So there's just so much that you can do with millets, a lot of variety. So Tantra, your cue from here.
Thank you so much, Pallavi. I hope that everyone here is also enjoying it. We had a wonderful webinar on this thing, and it has ignited me so much. So since Pallavi has mentioned about the workshop we do at Wellcure and all over the recipes which she has shown, am I audible, Rimsha? Is my voice is clear?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so here we are at Wellcure. So what I always believe is that, it's good to have the knowledge, but how do I bring that knowledge into my practical application? Like whatever I have learned, how do I make that as a part of my lifestyle? So that's the whole objective of Wellcure here. We do workshop with Ms. Pallavi Upadhyay. This is fortunately our 5th batch. I would like my colleague Rimsha to share the slide here so that you know what all we are covering into this workshop. And as you all can see that this is our 5th batch. So we have already covered 4th batch, and I think almost more than 100 recipes, which we have covered with Ms. Pallavi. The best beauty of this workshop is it's a millet cooking along workshop. So you can actually cook along with us. So this workshop is covering this time almost the 15 of the recipes. I'll actually share the name of the recipes also. Yeah, just give me a second, 1 minute, guys. In the meantime, my team is also taking the questions from you. Okay. Rimsha, I need the Razorpay link on this thing so that I can read out the recipes to her.
Definitely, just 1 minute.
Yeah. If anyone in the team is there, they can just send me the Razorpay. I want to read out the recipes. Okay, so I'll just tell you, it is having the Golgappa. We are having the millets Golgappa, millets Maggi, and even if Pallavi also remember, then a few of the recipes which Pallavi can share with us. Yes, you can order from her. There's a beauty about doing this workshop also. You'll be getting 10% off on your first order from Millet for Health store. We will be sharing the numbers and everything in the workshop with you, and also here in the email also, which we will be sending you after you have completed the webinar with us. We will send you all the details how to order the ingredients from Pallavi. Yeah, so this workshop is a 3 days workshop, which is starting from 23rd of March to 25th of March. It is for 3 days.
I can share the recipes that we are doing in the workshop that's upcoming. We are doing millet bhel, tacos, golgappa, ragda patties. We are doing chocolate mousse and shake, millet ice cream, millet apple crumble. We are doing gluten-free Maggi and ambali goja, which is an East Indian dish. So these are just some of the recipes that we will be covering in the upcoming series. I would like to maybe get to the questions now.
Yeah.
So that in case we have covered everything.
Yes, I just wanted to also mention what is e-learning here. So e-learning is basically also with this Pallavi, we have already made an e-learning course for the people who can't attend the workshop live, and for especially for the international customer on the Wellcure.